Hello, 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 and welcome to John Ray's spiritual slash metaphysical meme musings, daily inspiration for awakening entrepreneurs and generally badass people on a spiritual quest. Today is November 15th, 2020. I am John Ray, and if you'd like to see these memes before they turn into a video, you can follow me on Instagram at John Ray. Let's get started. So, first up from at Astral Dimension, we've got this little creature here meditating. It says, I meditate, I burn candles, I drink green tea, and I still want to smack some people. And for me, it's a journey. Enlightenment is a journey. This idea of always being in this positive, balanced place, I think, is something that brings more frustration than good, because it makes it seem like if you have one of those you know, two steps forward, one step back moment, that for some reason that's unacceptable or inappropriate. And, there's always, if you're playing a big enough game and if you're running fast enough into your desires, you're always going to bump up against new edges. And those new edges sometimes show up as, I just want to smack this person. And so for me, my daily practice is always let me let reality, the mirror of reality, hit me in the nervous system. And any tinge of energy or frustration or anger or emotion that shows up in my body, in my nervous system, that's an edge. That is an opportunity for me to clear energy that needs to be released so that I can step into a greater creative potential. And so it is okay if there are certain people or things or events that make you frustrated or angry or give you a sense of, I just want to take revenge against this person. It is important to acknowledge that that's okay. Give yourself the space to feel through those feelings and then act from inspiration. We don't ever want to be projecting those feelings outward, because that projection is us trying to avoid some uncomfortable feeling in our nervous system so that we don't have to actually deal with it because it feels icky. And instead, we project it out onto someone else. We want them to have the icky feeling, not us. And if we can make it our practice to sit with our uncomfortable feelings and become comfortable with discomfort, then we can have a much more harmonious relationship with reality around us. Next, from at Chakra Healing Vibes, it says, dude, I seriously notice everything. Subliminal disses, changed energy, different tone, body language. Shit, I can even tell tone through text. And this resonated with me because we get talked out of our intuition a lot in this world. We unfortunately live in a world that is constantly gaslighting us, whether it's the mainstream media or people who are uncomfortable with their own discomfort and they're projecting it back onto us. There is a subtle or not so subtle gaslighting that happens that makes us feel crazy for going with our gut, for going with our intuition. And when we begin to awaken, what happens is that we start to have a new level of energetic sensitivity. And that shows up as being able to read people, not by what they're saying, but by the energy that they're projecting. And what I'm learning more and more is that that first energetic hit is telling me something about how I'm going to relate to that person. And so first, I want to feel through that hit, because it could be my own stuff that I'm projecting onto them. So first, I want to feel through the edges of what someone makes me feel and make sure that I'm not projecting some past experience of my own or past relationship with somebody else in my life onto this person. But two, once I've felt through that, if there's still some kind of an intuition about how I'm going to relate to this person, whether it be good or bad, I do my best to follow that until it proves out right or wrong. And more and more, I think that we're having to learn to dial in our bullshit detector. And in a world that is gaslighting us, we have to find that personal power that says it's okay for us to move against the herd and to follow an intuition that may be juxtaposed to what everybody else is doing. Just because the mob is doing something does not mean that it's the right thing to do. The mob is not often in moral truth, and the outliers of society have always been the ones that are the greatest change makers. And so it is okay for us to have intuitions and follow intuitions that go counter to what the mainstream society is telling us is appropriate. Are you looking for a community of like-minded conscious entrepreneurs? I know I was, and that's why I created this one. Do you have a business, but you're not sure how to make it profitable? Are you looking to learn how to take practical sales and marketing techniques and accelerate your results by using metaphysical practices? Do you want to create spiritual leverage in your life to achieve time, location, and financial freedom? Well, then head on over to mindbodysale.com, where we are putting the soul back into selling. You're going to learn how to make money consciously, find meaning, align with purpose, and contribute to your community in a bigger way. Go to mindbodysale.com. If you feel like you're right on the cusp of breaking out and finding success, but just haven't been able to figure out how to bridge where you're at with where you want to be, then this community is for you. You're going to get access to a series of videos I've created that will show you the practical daily steps you need to take to start finding consistent success in your business. Even if you don't have a product or service yet, we'll show you how to do that. Plus, you're going to get chat access to me and my consulting team, and you can request custom videos to help you figure out how to start making more money this week. Then we're going to throw gasoline on that fire by incorporating all kinds of metaphysical and spiritual practices to give you leverage and to put a multiplier on the actions that you're taking each day. This is the program for finding time, location, and financial freedom and flow with ease while connecting with a great group of like-minded entrepreneurs. If any of that resonates with you, please support this channel and head over to mindbodysale.com. Next up, from at the Subliminal Messenger, we're not our age, we're our energy. And in this video, I'm going to be talking a lot more about the energetic nature, the quantum nature of our reality and how we can find leverage and really move the needle from that energetic perspective, because all physical actions and manifestations are taking their cue from a higher energetic and spiritual realm. And so when society tells us, oh, at this age, this thing starts happening, or at this age, you're going to start, your bones are going to start getting creaky, or at this age, your testosterone is going to drop, or at this age, your face and body starts sagging. That does not have to be the case. You can align with a younger version of energy, and that energy can provide vitality to your body. And so in my own life, I'm constantly thinking about how do I upgrade the energy of things, which I know will then bear itself out as physical manifestation. Next up, from at Power of Spirituality, it says, a non-attached mind, according to Krishna, is one who accepts everything unconditionally. The interesting thing is that if you accept something totally, it does not leave a mark, a scar on your mind. Your mind remains unscathed and undisturbed. But when you cling strongly to a thing, it leaves a mark on your mind. And when you are strongly averse to something you detest and deny it, then it also leaves a mark on your mind. And for me, the way that this shows up is, that old adage that where attention goes, energy flows. When you're attached to something, even if it's something that you're adamantly against, you're giving so much energy to it, which is why it's so interesting to see all the protest movements and all the resistance movements and all the pushing against of political characters in our society, because unwillingly, when people are doing that, they're lending so much energy to the other side, and so much attention to the other side. And while of course we need to be in free expression, and we need to showcase what's not working so that we can find a solution, there's so much more power in focusing on the solution, and focusing on the powerful characters that are doing what we want, that are speaking the truth that we want, rather than constantly giving our energy away to the people who are doing the things that we don't want. And so many people right now in 2020 are giving their power over to the things that they don't want. And with just a slight shift in frame, a slight shift in language, when we start talking about the things that we want, that are working for us, that we're grateful for, instead of constantly complaining about the things that we aren't, there's a place and time for that. And emotional processing, and working with an emotional processing coach, can be a really great way to consciously vent all of that complaining energy out. But the purpose shouldn't be my complaining is going to change things in the fastest, most highly leveraged way. The purpose should be, I'm trying to transmute this energy that is stuck in the pipes of my nervous system, so that I can then reframe it and reclaim my creative potential, and direct all of that energy towards the reality that I want to see, that I want to be a change maker towards, that I want to be a leader. And then you step forward as a leader speaking truth, instead of as a complainer who's constantly pointing the finger at others. When you point the finger at others, there's three more pointing back at you. And so always the change happens first inside your own energy system, nervous system, and body, and then that ripples out into the world. Next up, from at these spirit messages, says, be yourself, weird, wonderful, sensitive, impulsive, crazy, mystical, vulnerable, lovable, magical, and beautiful. The right people will adore you. And this just reflects some of the themes that we had in our video yesterday, which is, you got to do you. You've got to be in full authentic expression. You have to do the things that you know you have to do. And so if there are actions and things that you want to do in this life, but you're not doing it because it feels scary, or because you're afraid that people are going to judge you, or because you're afraid that you're going to fail, you're giving your power away to someone else. And I've done that so many times, and it's so frustrating to have all these ideas of how you want to live your life and what you want to do and the impact that you want to have, and then just shut it all down because you're letting other people decide what's appropriate for you. You've got to be weird, wonderful, sensitive, impulsive, crazy, mystical, vulnerable, lovable, magical, and beautiful. And you are. And the more that you step out in that authentic expression, the more that the people who don't serve you are going to fall away, and the people who resonate with your message are going to surround you as a supportive tribe. Next up, from my dear friend Jeremy Bergeron, he says, what if we are the awakening we've been waiting for? Wow. We really are, because we are all walking around in a personal universe, and then our personal universe is Venn diagramming with everybody else's personal universe, and so there's all these overlappings. But in order to have the awakening experience, it doesn't come from outside of us. Some alien isn't going to zap us in the heart. So some guru isn't going to save us. We can't constantly be looking for the answers outside of us. Everything in our reality changes when we change inside. And so when we start to do that deep emotional work, whether we're just sitting with our feelings or working with an emotional processing coach, this is such a powerful way to have our energy field expand, so that we are a more powerful satellite dish, so that we are receiving the messages that are available for us, so that we are tuning into a benevolent information field, and then enacting that information as action that is benevolent in the world. We are the awakening that we've been waiting for. And when we stop waiting for that awakening experience, and deeply and intensely focus on the present moment of our lives, let that hit us in the nervous system, and then feel through those edges, that is how we become the most powerful leaders and influencers that we can be. Next up from @MattCon1, it says, in the end, it won't matter what agenda was taken down, whether secrets were unsealed, or which perspective had it right on any level. All that will matter is the time you took to remain faithful in spirit, aligned in your ethics, a loving nurturer of your own heart, and an inspired contributor for your friends, family, and community while rooted in the wisdom of maturity. No matter how dark it became before the light dawned, no matter how dark it became before the light dawned. And this is such a powerful message for me right now, given the shift and chaos in the political and societal landscape. There are so many misinformation messages that are coming to us, and there's so many psyops, and it's so hard to discern what is the real narrative that's happening right now. And it's so easy to find evidence of what you want the real narrative to be, but is that actually the truth? And so what Matt Kahn is saying is, in the end, it doesn't matter. You've got to focus on remaining faithful, recognizing that life is inherently benevolent and working for you. You've got to find the gift that each moment is giving you. You have to align with your own moral, ethical truth, and then act from the heart. The way that we act from the heart is we let reality slap us in the nervous system. We feel through our edges, and instead of projecting uncomfortable energy outwards as resistance, instead of acting from our resistance, we instead act from a balanced energetic place. When we're taking actions from a place of balance that are inspired rather than reactionary, we have so much power. Next up from @SpiritualAwakening1, I don't chase, I attract. What belongs to me will find me. Simple. And when you start to develop an expectation that life is going to bring you everything that you need to live up to your greatest potential, then life becomes this beautiful moment of just being present with what's happening, feeling your feelings deeply and intensely, having an beautifully emotional experience with reality as it shows up for you, and then not constantly waiting or chasing after something that you don't have, being in that frantic place of, oh, if just this one thing would happen, then everything would be right for me. That's never going to be the case. There's always going to be more to do. You're always going to want more from your new perspective. And so instead, just recognize that what you need to live the biggest potential that is available to you is being gifted to you in every single moment. And if you will just intensely be with the present moment, you will up level into a place where you can be so powerful and impactful in this world. Next up from You Are Another Me, we've got Deepak Chopra here. And somebody's kind of animated what he's saying. He says, what we call everyday reality is a projection of consciousness. In reality, there's no such thing as colors or sounds or textures or tastes or smells. The real world is radically ambiguous and ceaselessly flowing quantum soup. It's a fluctuation of energy and information in an infinite void. The sky that an insect sees is not the sky you and I see, although it can sense honey from a distance. A honeybee experiences ultraviolet radiation. So when a honeybee looks at a flower, it doesn't see a flower the way you and I see. A snake experiences infrared radiation. A bat experiences the echo of ultrasound. A chameleon's eyeballs swivel on two different axes. You can't even remotely imagine what this would look like to a chameleon. I have no idea what that looks like. So what's reality? The answer is there's no such thing. And that is the weird quantum mystery, is that at that quantum level, everything is just energetic potential. It's just a wave waiting to collapse on itself. And when you start to operate from that perspective and recognize that everybody's seeing the world differently, everybody's having a different interpretation, the energy of the world is literally manifesting in different ways through different lenses, then all of a sudden reality and life becomes much more malleable, and it becomes much more like clay that you can form to your intention and your desires. And so it is a weird and wacky world at the quantum level, and there's plenty of people who um don't agree with the mystical interpretation of quantum physics, and yet there's so many quantum physicists who speak as though they are mystics. And starting to go down that quantum rabbit hole and recognize that you are energy, you are potential, and that potential can be formed in any way that you want is such a powerful frame to view your life through. From at love Abraham Hicks, Abraham says, I love being the clear example that I am. I love offering my vibration deliberately, and I love watching all the universal factors lining things up. And I do love that. This resonated with me because I love being a beacon of light for people. I don't always have to be projecting advice. I use my own channels to speak what's on my heart. But when I'm in relationship with someone in my day to day, unless they ask me for something, ask me for some kind of advice, ask me a question, I do my best not to project my worldview onto people. I'm keenly interested in where other people are coming from, and where my perspective might have some holes or gaps in it. And so I'm doing the best to train myself to be an active listener, to be able to hear someone without projecting my perspective onto them. And in that, I'm being an energetic example. I'm being a frequency based example, and that frequency ripples out and tickles people's intuitions and thoughts in ways that I don't even understand. But I know that the stronger I am in my light, the more that ripples out into the world. And that rippling of radio frequency has a positive impact on the entire universe. Next up, from Power of Spirituality, we've got a picture of Mark Twain, and he says, it's easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled. And I this resonates with me because in an information war, which is basically what we're living in right now, where if you want evidence for your belief system, you can search the internet and you will find some article, you will find some group of people, you will find some quote unquote evidence that backs up your perspective and then allows your ego to be right. And all of us are so focused on being right that we've lost sight of the fact that a perhaps a higher perspective is where are we wrong? I want to be a seeker of truth. I don't want to be a seeker of me being right. And in the past, my ego has sought out information to prove that I'm right rather than information to prove that I'm wrong. And if we're truly going to utilize the scientific method, then we need to be trying to prove our hypotheses wrong rather than always trying to prove them right. Because when we try to prove them right, there's enough information out there in the soup of reality that we will always find some information that allows us to convince ourselves that we're right. But just because we found one piece of information or a handful of people who agree with us doesn't mean that that's the highest truth available. And so in my own personal life, I'm always looking to figure out how to prove myself wrong so that I can have an expansion of what truth is rather than playing a small game and assuming that out of everyone in the world, got it right. And of course, the paradox of that is that when we're constantly looking to prove our hypotheses wrong, we do find deeper and deeper levels of truth. Next up, from at Russell Brand, it's a quote that says, be led by your talent, not by your self-loathing. Those other things you just have to manage. And I think that for me, it has been really easy in some of my darker moments to focus on the self-loathing and to feel like I'm inferior to other people. But I always get back to a point as I feel through those feelings, and those feelings are so appropriate. And as I've learned to recognize that my self-loathing and my self-hate hatred, that's not me. Those are just labels that I'm putting on energy. And if I allow that energy to be Drano in my pipes and I sit with it and I allow it to dissipate and I allow it to transmute and I allow it to move through me and convert itself back into creative potential, then I'm also keenly aware of the God-given talents that I have. There are things that I'm great at that other people aren't great at, and there are things that they're great at that I'm not great at. And that's the beautiful thing, is that we all have strong suits, and all we have to do is find the one thing that we can do well right now. Maybe that's, you know what, I'm going to brush my teeth twice a day. And that's as far as we can go with it, with our talent, is that we can show up for ourselves in 2 moments a day and brush our teeth. Well, that starts to move the wheels and grease the wheels and build a little bit of momentum. And then that momentum opens up other areas that we can show up for ourselves. And so all we have to do is show up on the miniature talent that is available to us in each moment. And maybe that's just doodling on a sheet of paper and showcasing that we can do something that's never been done before. But there's always some talent that we have that we can start to pull the thread of, and it will unravel the facade around us and open up a whole new potential that we can step into. Next up, from @Kaizen Executive, we got Gary V here. He says, I didn't fail school, school failed me. School fails entrepreneurs every day because it's not built for entrepreneurs, it's built for workers. And really, society as a whole has been built so that you can be a cog in the machine. And if you are not bucking the current of that and thinking outside the box and thinking differently and grasping for visionary ideas, doing things differently, then you're always going to be a cog in the machine. And so don't fall into the trap of elitism where just because you got degrees or a master's, or you have a bunch of technical training, those things are all great foundations to understand how the world currently works, but they're not designed to make you a visionary. Visionaries have to go into the ether and explore their imagination and intuition to find new ways, new ideas, new opportunities to do things differently. And so you have to be comfortable with being different if you truly want to act in a visionary way. Next up, from @Spiritual Hill, we've got this woman. She's holding some shaman tools, like a frequency bowl and maybe some sage or something. It says, "Them, don't come over here with all that spiritual shit." And then it shows her just zenning out, holding the space, clearing all the negative energy. And I think that sometimes for those of us who are spiritual, there are people in our lives that don't understand why we've got a bunch of crystals around us, why we are bathing in blue or red light. It doesn't matter if other people don't get what you get, and it doesn't matter if you can't prove the success that you're seeing to other people. What works for you, and you got to do you. And this lady is definitely doing that. Next up, from @The Business Mindset, if you want to make everybody happy, don't be a leader, sell ice cream. That's a quote from Steve Jobs. And you know, any great visionary has had opposition come after them. Steve Jobs, was fired as the CEO from Apple, and I believe from Next, his company before that. And so, if you're making every action so that you can please other people, you're never going to be taking visionary actions, because people are the mob doesn't like change. It wants everything to maintain the status quo. And if you're a visionary, your job is to move the edges of reality beyond status quo. And that's going to be uncomfortable for people, and they're not going to like you for it until they do like you for it. Next up, from @Austin, Texas Things, this is a beautiful picture, aerial picture of the Frost Tower, and just wanted to share a beautiful image from my downtown hometown, Austin, Texas. Beautiful sunset in the background as well. Next up, from @HeartMath, through the lens of the heart, we can begin to understand that emotions are not just reactions, and most importantly, that we do have the ability to choose our emotional state and not be victims of our feelings. Emotion is just a frequency. When we're having positive emotion, that frequency is in coherence, and when we're having negative emotion, that frequency is in incoherence. And there's so many practices like breath work and yoga and exercise and good diet, these can all tune us to a fluid coherence that allows us to feel inspired and act from that place of inspiration. But in that discordant energy, we can't identify that energy as us. We have to just recognize that that's discordant energy, and if we will sit with it and build the space for it and not judge it in any way and allow it to be there, it will transmute itself back into coherence, and that's where all the ideas are. Next up from at these spirit messages, you're not supposed to be happy all the time. Life hurts and it's hard, not because you're doing it wrong, but because it hurts for everybody. Don't avoid the pain. You need it. It's meant for you. Be still with it. Let it come. Let it go. Let it leave you with the fuel you'll burn to get your work done on this earth. That's from Glennon Doyle Melton. And life is going to be this beautiful dance of contrast from one extreme to the other as you try to find your balance point, and as you walk that balance line, that middle way more often. And I used to always judge myself and get mad at myself when I would manifest an experience that wasn't the experience that I wanted, until I recognized that the gift of God, the gift of reality, the gift of the mirror of life is that life in every moment is catalyzing the energy in our nervous system that is trapped and ready for release. And so, if we will let the mirror of reality hit us in the nervous system, feel through that discordant energy, that discordant energy becomes Drano in the pipes that grows the pipes of our energy system and allows us to find deeper and deeper levels of flow. Next up from at Investing Idea, 3 types of trading goals. Short term, I will learn from my losses. Intermediate, I will be profitable within 3 months. Long term, I will see a return of 50 to 200% this year. I wanted to share this because I day trade the crypto markets, and I learned a lot over the last 5 months of day trading the crypto markets, and I've definitely lost money short term. I had to lose in order to gain the emotional fortitude and the knowledge required to trade successfully. But now I'm uh, a little bit beyond that intermediate phase, and I'm starting to see profits every single week, and it's exciting to be able to invest my money in a way that is duplicating itself. And long term, I see many of the people that I'm working with, my crypto coach, and many of the people in my crypto group, they're all seeing 50 to 200% returns, and I'm starting to see returns that are edging towards that. And it's just exciting that we live in a time where there's a completely new concept and philosophy around what money is and what investing is. And the cryptocurrency space is, I believe, the future of finance, and the next 3 years are going to be one of the most brilliant opportunities for us to 10x and create life-changing money. And I just wanted to put this slide in here because if you haven't explored cryptocurrency, there really is so much opportunity in there. And cryptocurrency is to the future what 1994 was to right now on the internet. We're in the early stages, and if you can get in now and understand that world, I really feel like there's an opportunity to set yourself up for a brilliant future financially. Next up from at Prince A, you are under no obligation to be the same person you were a year, a month, or even 15 minutes ago. You have the right to grow. No apologies. And I put this in here because you can reinvent yourself in every single moment. Your past does not have to dictate your future. And working with a good emotional processing coach, excuse me, can be such a powerful way to shed the emotional baggage of the past so that you can truly be present. And when you're present, you're constantly living in a place of reinvention and innovation of self. Next up from at these spirit messages, sometimes you have to make a decision that will hurt your heart, but will heal your soul. And I am learning that the most highly leveraged decisions are sometimes the hardest ones to make because it means that there's going to be massive change attached to it. I firmly believe that each of us is 2 or 3 decisions away from a completely different life. And that can be a completely different life in a negative downward spiral or in a positive upward spiral. But those hard decisions that we're afraid to make, if we can feel through that fear and find the courage to make the decisions we know we should make, we can experience up levelings very quickly. Again, from at these spirit messages, it's the small habits, how you spend your mornings, how you talk to yourself, what you read, what you watch, who you share your energy with, who has access to you. That will change your life. And you have to take track of how you're spending your time. One of the things that one of my coaches teaches is doing a time study. You set a timer on your phone for every 15 minutes, and you just write down each 15 minutes what you're doing. And then after 2 weeks of doing that, you look and you categorize how you're using all of your time, and you realize that you're wasting so much time by doing things that could be delegated out, or that don't serve you, or that are not pointed towards your goals. Small steps lead to big movement. And it's important to recognize that, if you feel stuck, start reading a book, start subscribing to Instagram channels that have inspirational content, start listening to people who are doing the things that you want to do. That will start moving your energy in the right direction. Next up, from at the business mindset, the greatest thing my dad, this is a quote from Robert Downey Jr. The greatest thing my dad taught me came from when I called him from a phone booth and said, "Hungry, no bus token. Please, out of options." And his dad said, "Pff, get a job." And I put this in here because it's, I think it's really easy to get caught up in victim mindset, or a victim, an emotional state of victimhood, where we think, oh, life is against me, the world is against me, and because of that, I have to have somebody take care of me. But the truth is, there's always some choice that you can make that will be an up level from where you are right now. And the more that you choose the decision that up levels you, the more that you will find that flow and momentum towards greater and greater up levelings. And if you're consistently choosing, grasping, and winning at bigger and bigger games, that is how you become your greatest potential. From at Business Father, 4 reasons why businesses fail. 42% of small businesses fail because there's no market for their product or service. If you have a business right now, you need to validate that your product offering is actually something that people want. And there's likely a product offering that is greater than the one that you're offering. If you're trading time for money, if you're charging hourly, there is likely something that your audience, that your customer base wants, that they'd be willing to pay $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month for. And what you need to do is grow the vision of what you could offer for $2,000 a month, because predictable income is going to allow you to up level faster in your business. And so one of the things that 42% of small businesses fail because they don't ever go out and ask their customers what their customers actually want. And if you will talk to every single customer and say, hey, what could I be doing differently? How can I serve you better? You will be able to fine tune your product in a way where people will actually pay more money for it and feel like they're getting more value from it, and then they're going to want to do consistent business with you. And if this is something you're interested in, the community that I've built at mindbodysale.com definitely speaks to this. 14% of small businesses fail because they ignore their customers. Again, you have to have some kind of feedback mechanism for people to tell you what they like and don't like. Don't be afraid to send out some survey to every single customer and say, hey, you and I recently worked together. What was that like? What could I have done better? What were your expectations? How can I serve you better? That feedback will allow you to fine tune your edges and build a product that's truly valuable. 23% of small businesses fail because they don't have the right team. If you're a solopreneur, if you're doing it all yourself, you've got to start thinking about how do you run your business like an enterprise. Within 6 to 12 months or sooner, you can shift from solopreneur mode to full-on enterprise mode, where you have a team that supports you so that you can go out and be the visionary thought leader while your team executes the granular details. And 29% of small businesses run out of cash in their first year of running the business. You've got to reinvest your cash. You've got to be putting money aside for a rainy day. You have to make sure that you're using the leverage of debt in the right way. You have to be able to survive for the first 6 to 12 months. And if you're taking every single dime that you make in the business and have nothing else to reinvest, then you're never going to grow to a level that is satisfying or meaningful. Next up from Outlaw of Void, imagining events as if they already happened in vivid detail as you're falling asleep. This is a guaranteed way to hack your reality. That's from Cody Wilcox, and what he's saying is that if you can connect in to the imaginary version of the life that you want, and connect in with it so vividly that it actually starts to stir the emotions and biochemicals as if you're actually living that, that's tuning your frequency towards the quantum reality, towards the information that's going to get you there. It could be debatable. You don't have to go all the way down the rabbit hole and say, oh, you're going to dimensionally hop into another dimension where everything that you want already exists. Maybe that's possible, and you can go that deep down the rabbit hole if you want. But it could just be that if you don't want to go that deep into the rabbit hole of quantum physics, if you don't believe, if you want something more practical, well, then tuning your emotional body, your energy, opens the satellite dish of your mind up to information that will allow you to make decisions that move you in the direction of the thing that you're imagining. And so the more that you go into that beautiful space of imagination, allow the biochemicals and emotions to trigger as if that reality is real, you are tuning the satellite dish of your brain to see the newspaper or the book in the bookstore that's going to get you where you want to go, to make sure that you tune into that coach that's going to help you, to make sure that you listen to that interview that gives you the motivation and inspiration to do the thing that you want to do. You've got to tune your satellite dish so that you're seeing the information. There's so many data points that we come across every single day. Our brain tunes out almost all of it. When you imagine what you want, trigger the emotions and biochemicals of that, it tunes you to the information that's going to get you where you want to go in a faster, more efficient way. Also from Law of Void, it says the spiritual journey is individual, highly personal. It can't be organized or regulated. It isn't true that everyone should follow one path. Listen to your own truth. You've got to do you. There is not one way to do it. If there's something that you want to do, it's important to find other people who have done it and recognize how they found success doing it. But then you be the visionary and do it different and do it better and do it bigger. Next up from Law of Light, to remember who you are, you need to forget who they told you to be. We're being gaslit right now. Society is telling us that we have to be a cog in the machine, that we have to live in fear. That is not true. Unlearn everything that you think you know about reality. This is the process that I'm on. I want to assume that everything that I know is wrong, because then that opens me up to seeing greater levels of truth. I want to use the scientific method in the right way, where I'm trying to disprove my beliefs and disprove my hypotheses so that I can step into tangible ideas that will move me forward. Also from Law of Light, the cells in your body react to everything your mind says. Negativity brings your immune system down. One of the best things that I learned from Cryon many years ago was that you can talk to your body, that each cell is like a little entity that you can talk to. You can tell your body that it's fit, that you want it to flow, that you want the energy to flow. You can call in spiritual help from your spiritual team. You can call in spiritual surgery. You can tell your body that it's getting healthier, that it's finding the ideas that are going to move it forward, and your body will respond to the energy of that, to the way that you imagine it. When you look in the mirror and you say, oh, I hate what I'm looking at, your cells take that to heart, and then they give you more of that. You have to see and experience the emotion of the body you want, not the one that you have, of the health that you want, of the well-being that you want. And you do that by going deeper into gratitude. What am I grateful for today? That energy of gratitude is going to be energetically lifting to the cells and the biochemistry of your body. Also from Law of Light, follow your soul. It knows the way. How do you follow your soul? You stay in the present moment. You allow reality to hit you in the nervous system. You feel through your edges and you move towards your inspiration. You feel through any fears that you have about doing the thing that you know you should do, and you just take the leap. You feel through the fear that you have about failing and you just take the leap. You move towards your highest excitement in each moment, and you trust that reality is going to benevolently support you in that. And that's how you grow you and find your soul purpose and live your highest potential. So that is your daily dose of spiritual magic. If you're looking for a like-minded community of conscious entrepreneurs, all working to create time, location, and financial freedom, please head on over to mindbodysale.com and take a look at what we've created. I'd love to have you as a part of our community. Please go and follow all of the meme creators I've highlighted today. Their links are in the description. I really appreciate their work. And if you have a spiritual meme account on Instagram that I should follow, please leave a link and your thoughts on today's meme musings in the comments. Every single week, I'm going to be doing a Q&A question. So if you a Q&A video. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and then I'll do a video answering all of those. I'm John Ray. Godspeed to you all. Until tomorrow.